Welcome to this episode of Our College Your Voices. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. I am pleased to announce that our new Lafayette Chancellor, Dr. Aaron Baute, began at the Ivy Tech campus just a few weeks ago. He was born and raised in Lafayette and began his career at Ivy Tech in 2004 as an adjunct instructor. Over the years, Aaron has served in various roles at the Lafayette campus, including faculty, program chair for business administration, department chair for the School of Business, and division dean of technology. Most recently, Dr. Baute was the vice president of business, logistics, and supply chain here at the systems office for Ivy Tech. Dr. Scott Hanback, chair of the Lafayette campus board, said it best about Dr. Baute's promotion to the position of chancellor. Dr. Baute has extensive knowledge of the area's business and industry, K-12 institutions, and Purdue University. I know that he will hit the ground running on the first day and build on Dr. Bathe's legacy. So let's meet Dr. Baute. And we could have recorded this when we were in person earlier this week, but we waited till now, so we're doing it by Zoom. Good to see you again, Aaron. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm excited to have this conversation. Now, I read out a little bit about your bio at Ivy Tech, but that's not actually where you've spent your entire career. You were at FedEx for 19 years. What caused you to leave FedEx and venture over to higher education?
Well, it actually started with interviewing an owner-operator that had come in. And in our interview process, I uncovered that he was teaching at our Logansport site some business classes. And he was very passionate about it. And as we were talking, I started asking more questions, and he said I should definitely do it. So I came in 2004, halfway through the semester for someone that went on maternity leave. And so I started as an adjunct. And then one of the main reasons I love being an adjunct, I taught more and more classes. And I thought, man, I'd love to do this full time. So that's why I ended up here. But in all honesty, also because FedEx has an unwritten rule about relocation. And there's more and more pressure to continue to move. And me and my wife are Lafayette people. And we don't, I was born here. I'll probably die here. And that's fine with me.
And your kids graduated from school in Lafayette too, didn't they? If I remember correctly?
They did. They both graduated from Harrison. Actually, a funny fact about us and the educational system in Lafayette, there are 3 public schools and a private school. My wife went to McCutcheon. I went to Jeff. Our kids went to Harrison. And I grew up with all the CC people in my neighborhood. So there you go.
Very good. Very good. So I know that you are incredibly excited to be back in your hometown as chancellor. It was great to actually see your enthusiasm in person when we visited together earlier this week. How have your other roles with Ivy Tech prepared you for the challenge and opportunity of being chancellor?
Well, I think being faculty, actually being an adjunct faculty helps because those are such an important aspect of the college. They have so much contact with our students as a percentage. We need great adjuncts. We also need to understand what they deal with and their concerns. So I think going through that process and understanding the things that affected my quality of life and my desire to continue to teach here as an adjunct is good to know. Faculty, obviously, all that goes along with being faculty. I think it's important to understand faculty's role, again, for the same reasons, so that you have a perspective of understanding the frustrations you had when you had the position. The statewide chair, and I've told this to a lot of people as I've recruited them into the position, I learned so much in that small amount of time. You just learn so much about how the college actually operates as statewide chair. And you really don't switch positions. It's kind of an add-on to your chair, but it just gives you a whole nother perspective. I was dean of technology, which is now advanced manufacturing, engineering, and applied science. I think that's a very tough job at the college, I'll be honest with you. And it is positioned me because the manufacturers put a lot of pressure on our deans to perform in the community in very specific ways. And I think that experience and that pressure and that need to be partially external, but convert that information to internal and that communication back and forth was so valuable. I could have never been vice president without it. And then vice president just amped that up. Learning all the processes, as you know, Kara, the Commission of Higher Ed process, Department of Education, Higher Learning Commission. I went through 2 accreditations. And just knowing those things allows me really, especially on the academic side, on the workforce side, I have tremendous experience in industry and in the VP role. But the academic side, being VP and working through those processes with those curriculum committee meetings, hearing what they have concerns about, seeing the dynamic of that, and seeing how finished products come out, and understanding the timeline that you have to get things done in order to get them done by a certain date. All very helpful and to me at the campus to understand what faculty go through, our deans and vice chancellors of academic affairs, to help them be as effective as possible.
I know that you really did hit the ground running, even like the day you got the offer for this position and accepted it. What are you most excited about to begin working on?
It's really just being that great community member. I love this community. Chancellor Bathe has created great place here. He really has. And they have a great culture here, great staff. One of the reasons I wanted the job was because I really think it's such a high quality campus. It really is. And this has been set up physically very well. And it really hasn't changed that much. Yeah. They did such a great job on the front end. And it's really in the heart of town. And Dave did such a great job building those connections, working with the community. So it really is working with the employers, working with the community. And then our faculty have a lot of challenges to add one on. You know, we've asked a lot. They're dealing with the pandemic, changing modes, learn anywhere, 8 weeks, Ivy online, a lot of anxiety, a lot of angst, a lot of pressure. And so I really want to work with them to see how we can mitigate that locally and help them be as effective and have a high quality of work life as well, but still serve our students the way we need to.
Absolutely. No matter how long we're at Ivy Tech, we can learn something new every day in every role we play and every experience we're in. What's something you've already learned as chancellor?
In all honesty, we are asked as an institution and campus to do a lot of things that are very difficult, and saying no as Ivy Tech is very hard in the community because we want to be that great community partner. I didn't realize how often that would happen where we're really asked to participate in a lot, and we have to look at the capabilities and bandwidth of the campus and our strategic goal, make sure things are aligned because we can't do everything, but we need to do the things to support our community that matter and focus on the right things so that our energy is impactful. It's really just understanding the needs in the community, the variety and frequency of how much Ivy Tech is tapped to fill these gaps and support initiatives that in a lot of instances don't really have strong ties to education in some instances. Right. We always link it back to education, but sometimes the community just needs that support, and we are a true community member at Ivy Tech.
As we end today, what's a fun fact about yourself that you want to share?
Well, it's one I never shared before, but I've been sharing since I took this job. Okay. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but it is a fact. Those that are from Indiana, and especially older folks like my age, 50 and above, and people from around the Indianapolis area, remember the Speedway bombings. It was a very prominent event in the state. And back in 78, 79, I lived in that community and actually witnessed the main bombing. I was walking. We lived in the apartment complex next to Speedway High School. There was a football game that night between Avon and Speedway. Me and my friends were walking across the field, and we didn't see the blast, but heard and felt the blast, turned to my right and could see the aftermath of it. Now, we didn't go up close, but that's just such a horrific accident that I've never really shared that. I wasn't traumatized by it because I stayed way far away. But now enough times passed, I've thrown that one out at least this year. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's always good to remember those tragedies and to try to keep learning from them. I know you and I are fellow dog people. How are the pups adjusting to you being gone so much more? Because I know I've seen you a lot more and you're in your office now that you have an office in Lafayette rather than your home. How are they adjusting?
Hey, they may like it better. Oh. they just want mom home. They don't care about dad. Right. But no, they're doing great. I got 2 little Australian Shepherds. They're awesome. And actually my daughter has a pretty unique dog. It's half rat terrier and half blue heeler. which it's like a Tasmanian devil, but it stays with us because she's a student at University of Indy getting ready to finish up. So we support her by babysitting the dog when she's really busy.
That's very good. That's very cool. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with me and to be introduced to the larger statewide community. I think a lot of people know you, but in this new role, it's always good to revisit those connections. So if you're at the Lafayette campus, be sure, our call to action, stop by and say hi to Chancellor Baute. You might just meet him coming off of an elevator. That's where I met him the other day. Thanks again for joining this episode of Our College, Your Voices. I want to thank my guest today, Dr. Aaron Baute, Chancellor of the Lafayette campus. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. Our producer is Sarah Ferguson. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivytech.edu. Don't forget, if you're an Ivy Tech faculty or staff member, you can join our Microsoft Teams listener community. I send out instructions on that every Thursday. Our website, where you'll find links to our show notes, is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell and the Ivy Tech Community College Creative Services team. Our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music and post-production services provided by Jen Eads at the Brassy Broadcasting Company, and we will talk to you next time on Our College, Your Voices.